Jesus came with a sword, not to destroy, but to cut through the illusions we cling to. Sometimes that means severing ties. Sometimes it means walking alone. If you're not willing to take up that cross, to endure the weight of isolation and opposition, then you'll never taste the freedom it offers. They say Jesus came with peace. They paint him as the eternal diplomat, a divine negotiator smoothing over our faults, a lamb to cradle in the soft folds of tradition. But have they read his words? I wonder if the gentle sermons they cling to come from the same lips that whispered, "I bring not peace, but a sword." The gospel they market is a watered-down wine, meant to dull and pacify, not to intoxicate with truth. But the real Jesus, the way of God, is a fire starter, a revolutionary. And if you dare take up his cross, you'll find yourself split in two. One half burning with divine purpose, the other smoldering in the ashes of everything you were told to hold dear. That's the irony, isn't it? We inherit our parents' habits, their beliefs, their limitations, and call it loyalty. Honor your mother and father, they say. But what does it mean to honor someone who chained you to their mediocrity? Love them? Yes. Respect them? Certainly. But honor? True honor is breaking those chains and forging a new way. Jesus didn't tell me to worship the ways of my parents. He told me to leave them behind. If your parents live in fear, ignorance, or indulgence, how can you follow them without dishonoring the life and truth God gave you? And yet, we defend their flaws and inadequacies with our lives. They did the best they could, we say, as if that justifies generational ignorance. But I say this, their best wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough for them, and it won't be good enough for me. If my father clung to a broken system, then I must be the one to fix it. If my mother accepted less than her potential, I must be the one to claim what she forfeited. Not for vengeance, not for pride, but because truth, power, and prosperity demand it. The 12 were no different. When Jesus sent out the 12, he didn't coddle them with promises of comfort or glory. He sent them like sheep into a pack of wolves. He told them to carry no money, no extra clothes, not even a walking stick. Imagine that. No backup plan, no safety net. He stripped away every illusion of control, forcing them to depend entirely on God, on life itself. This wasn't just a test of faith, it was a revelation. Jesus was telling them, you have everything you need within you. Stop clutching at things that won't save you. The world thrives on this illusion that money, possessions, or people will shield you from life's storms. But storms are inevitable. The only question is whether you've built your house on the rock or the sand. The 12 didn't need coins. They didn't need comfort. They needed clarity. A spiritual being is like a tree planted by streams of water. It bears fruit in every season, without hoarding or fearing lack. I've seen people clutch their possessions like drowning men, clinging to driftwood, and I wonder if they realize they've already sunk. Wealth is not the problem. Dependence on it is. The wolves and the shrewd serpent. Be shrewd as snakes and harmless as doves, he said. Do you know what that means? It means this world is out to devour you. Your family, your friends, the systems you trust, they'll eat you alive if you let them. To be shrewd is to know the minds of the wolves around you, to anticipate their moves without letting their hunger infect you. To be harmless is to strike at circumstances, not at people, and to carry out your mission without leaving scars on the earth. When you live with clarity, people will hate you for it, not because of who you are, but because of who they aren't. Your light reminds them of their shadows. Your success exposes their failure. It's Cain and Abel all over again. Abel thrived, not because he was better, but because he gave everything in alignment with truth. Cain resented him for it. Instead of rising to meet the standard, Cain dragged his brother down. The world will do this to you. When you start living above your environment, expect resistance. Expect betrayal. Your enemies won't be strangers. They'll be your brothers, your sisters, the people you trusted most. I'm not saying this to make you bitter. Bitterness is a prison, and I refuse to live enslaved. No, I'm saying this to make you prepared. Prepared to face the wrath of the good people. Those who believe themselves good, healthy, and well-meaning despite their ignorance and ineptitude. The weight of the cross. If you love your father or mother more than me, you are not worthy of me. Those words cut deeper than any sword. To follow the way of God is to stand apart, even from those who shaped you. It means recognizing that your parents' habits, beliefs, and fears aren't sacred. They're simply patterns you were born into. Do you know what it's like to look at the people who raised you and realize they were wrong? To understand that their definition of success, love, and faith is riddled with holes. It's devastating, but it's also liberating. You don't honor your parents by repeating their mistakes. You honor them by becoming what they couldn't. And yes, it will divide you. It will set you against your family, your community, your nation. That's the nature of truth. It separates wheat from chaff. But division isn't destruction. It's refinement. The illusion of peace. The world loves to preach peace. They'll tell you to keep your head down, to play along, to keep the family together at all costs. But peace without truth is a lie. It's the silence of a house about to collapse. Jesus came with a sword, not to destroy, but to cut through the illusions we cling to. Sometimes that means severing ties. Sometimes it means walking alone. If you're not willing to take up that cross, to endure the weight of isolation and opposition, then you'll never taste the freedom it offers. The circulation of life. Let's talk about giving. Jesus told the 12, "Give as freely as you have received." Most people don't understand what that means. They hoard their blessings, clutching them as if they could run out. But life is a cycle. When you give freely, you open yourself to receive more. When you hoard, you choke the flow of abundance. You were entrusted with your gifts to fulfill a purpose, to serve. In serving, you unlock life's true treasures: wisdom, resources, allies, and assets. Like blood coursing through the body, your service sustains the greater whole and ensures your own vitality in return. Imagine your heart hoarding blood instead of circulating it. How long would you last? That's how most people live, cutting themselves off from the divine flow of life, all because they don't trust the source. A spiritual being knows better. A spiritual being gives without fear, because they know the Father is always enough. The Father isn't just the giver, He is the gift. Before I conclude this piece, I need to make note of the principle of transformative worthiness. This principle encapsulates the need for an individual to transcend surface-level morality, goodness, and evolve through transformative trials, active responsibility, and self-mastery. It emphasizes that true worthiness of purpose, divinity, or higher calling is not granted by passive virtue, but earned through decisive action, confrontation with uncomfortable truths, and the courage to embody the way, the truth, and the life unapologetically. The principle of transformative worthiness highlights responsibility over image. Actions rooted in truth and impact matter more than being perceived as good. Confrontation with reality. Growth demands facing the darkness within and without. Courage in conflict, standing for what's right, even against societal norms or familial ties. Active evolution. Goodness must be dynamic and problem-solving, not passive or superficial. divine alignment through trials. Only those who embrace struggle and transformation align with higher purpose and Godhood. This principle serves as a call to action, urging the shedding of fragility of conventional goodness and rise to the challenge of becoming truly worthy. The way forward. I didn't write this to comfort you. I wrote this to unsettle you, to make you question the life you've been living. Are you clinging to the ways of your parents, your culture, your peers? Are you chasing peace at the expense of truth? The way of God isn't easy, but it's simple. It requires nothing but everything. It strips you of your illusions and leaves you standing bare before the truth. But in that nakedness, you find strength. In that emptiness, you find abundance. I've made my choice. I've taken up the sword and the cross. I've left behind the comfort of conformity for the fire of refinement. It's not peace I seek, it's freedom. And if that makes me an outcast, so be it. The 12 walked out into a world of wolves with nothing but the truth to guide them. And they changed the course of history. So what will you do? Will you carry the sword, or will you let it cut you down? Will you take up the cross, or will you let its weight crush you? The choice is yours. But know this, in the end, the only thing you truly lose is the illusion that you are ever safe. You were made for more. Step into it. This is not the gospel of comfort. This is the gospel of fire. This is the Demigod code. And always remember that we are warriors. We are champions. We are gods.